The Fantasy Football Tips Podcast with Mills, JP, Quigliano, and Cliff.
Hi, you're listening to the Fantasy Football Edge podcast. My name is Mills. It is game week 23. It is 2018, and I'm joined by Quigliano, I'm pleased to say. Quigliano, how are you?
Yeah, good, thanks, mate. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you too. A bit of a Christmas break for us, wasn't it? It's been about 4 game weeks, I think, since we last took the podcast out on air. Has it been a favourable Christmas period for yourself?
It could have been worse. It could have been worse. I was fairly happy with how things were going. The new year, unfortunately, has not been as kind. Having played my free hit, I feel like I'm in a worse position than I would have been had I just held tight. So very, very disappointed there.
Yeah, I suppose the only thing is that you're not the only one. You know, a lot of people played the free hit, and I played the triple captain, and again, it didn't particularly work out brilliantly for me. Harry Kane, he loves to score a goal when I don't captain him. Basically, he's pretty much what I've learned. So, and
then when you do captain him,
it's dreadful.
He loves to not score as well.
Absolutely, it's absolutely dreadful.
So you put the kiss of death on everyone, didn't you? With your triple captain.
Yeah, I did triple captain. My backup was Eriksen. I thought Eriksen was a pretty solid shout, but he was never going to be spectacular. But it probably would have paid. Actually, in hindsight, it definitely would have paid to have gone Eriksen. So a little bit disappointed in myself there, I've got to say.
Never mind, mate. Never mind. It was good to see it fizzling out. I mean, I went captain Kane as well because I just thought I knew a few people would be playing their triple captains. I thought at least if I'm getting 2/3 of their points in theory.
But I suppose it feels pretty good now, still having that triple captain up your sleeve, I guess.
Yeah, it does. And I mean, what you might be able to tell me more than I know at the minute. Any of these FA Cup replays, going to make any double game weeks? Are there going to be any blanks on the back of this, or is it too early to tell?
I think it's too early. Yeah, it's not on the cards yet, but it pretty much always happens. There's going to be double game weeks this season, particularly because it's a World Cup year. So there's certainly going to be no extension to the league, and generally that doesn't happen anyway. But it can happen, and that's not going to happen this year. So yeah, there will definitely be coming. There will definitely be coming. It was interesting to have a double game week so early in the season. I think that's the first time that's ever happened. It certainly doesn't happen very often. So
the rail strike, mate. It was trade union action.
Absolutely. I wish they'd have just played as planned. It really ruined the end of 2017 for me, because I took Kane out a couple of weeks before in the build-up because I didn't want him in that blank game week. And he obviously scored 2 hat-tricks in that time. So I missed out on 6 goals, then triple captained him and got nothing. So, it's sod's law, isn't it? But anyway, not that I'm a bitter man, and I've made a few FPL New Year's resolutions. So hopefully I'll be able to stick to them. But
are you sharing those?
Well, I think I've been here before. It's about minus points. So generally, I think my season kind of went. So far, my season's not been that bad. It's not been brilliant. It's certainly not been spectacular. But too many minus points, and it's the same old thing for me. So I've got to knock that on the head. Really have. So that's my intention anyway. Let's see how long I can go. I will tell you though, Quigliano, that I have already activated my wild card for this week. Thoughts on that?
Well, I've activated mine as well. So
wow.
That's
interesting.
Fantastic to hear that you're wasting yours as well as me.
Yeah, exactly. It's a strange one because I hadn't got that many players that I really wanted to get rid of, but there were like 3 or 4 players that I really wanted to get in, and I couldn't really facilitate getting them in without taking, basically it was budget. So that the budget had to sort of swap around all over the place. So yeah, I had to make the decision, and I'm kind of glad that I have. I think it's an interesting one again because come the end of this is the transfer window's open. We've already seen Coutinho move on. There's going to be changes for a few teams, but I always think in January, are there going to be players that you're going to want to bring in? So obviously the downside of activating the wild card now is that players could come in and you might want them, but I think I'll be pretty safe, to be honest.
Interesting to hear. I mean, mine was played more out of I let emotion take over me. I played that free hit. expecting a lot from the double game week, and I'd say I probably broke even in terms of what would have happened. Putting players in like Arnautovic, he got an assist but then didn't play. Put Dele Alli in, he got a goal but then didn't do anything else. But I dropped players like Sané and Pogba, who actually did well those game weeks. So it was pretty much like a level playing field. I feel like I wasted that, and I was like, enough. I need to rectify this team, get it back to how I want it, and then I can obviously just moan and complain as the season goes on because everything else has gone against me so far.
Yeah, absolutely. So, okay, before we move on to the usual Garys of the week and so on, I wanted to just go through some of the top transfers out and in this week, and obviously no surprise to see that Coutinho is the most transferred out player, but followed by Mo Salah, which I find quite interesting. I know he's got a bit of a yellow flag over him, 75% chance. Ben Dinnery seems to think that he will play against Man City. Are you surprised to see Salah as the second most transferred out player?
Well, no, because he obviously missed a game week. The people are hearing that it's potentially 2. Not the best fixture in the world, although we are hoping that should... the best fixture in terms of maybe... of points haul, but I mean that's probably going to be the best Premier League game of the season. That 2 of the teams that are just going to go and attack, press each other, which causes gaps. So I mean that's one to watch. That's better than your Man United Chelsea snooze fest.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I'm looking forward to see that. But maybe they're like thinking, well, his price is going to drop, so I can get rid of him for a couple of weeks, and then he's maybe not going to do anything against City and get him back in. But all depends when you bought him, really. I know it's a big hit for me. If I was to sell him, I'd get, I've had it since week 1, so I know I'm going to take a big hit if I did that.
And then
probably going to have to hold tight.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll definitely be holding on to him. And then Roberto Firmino's the 4th most transferred out player. So 3 Liverpool players in the top 4. I do think that's a little bit short-sighted, given this game. I know you've just said it's going to be an entertaining game. Look at the way Liverpool have approached, other games against some of the top sides. Look at, when they played Arsenal. I think it's going to be a really entertaining game. And Firmino's surely got to have a chance of scoring goals. I know you've got him in your team. Are you going to give me, are you going to give this away? Are you going to keep Firmino? Because I know you've been a fan of his for most of the season.
He's going to be, 11, 25. I'll have spent all week building this wild card up, and then I'll tear it apart in the last 5 minutes. That's bound to happen before the deadline.
You are an emotional man.
Yeah. So...
Also the most indecisive man that I know, so that doesn't bode well.
He's someone that I've bought early as well, so it would be a big hit for me if I change my mind on that one. But I am tempted to actually start looking at 5 in midfield, 5 more expensive midfielders, and just go Aguero and Kane up front, because you've got 2 players there now with Jesus injured. Aguero and Kane are going to start for both of those. They're going to be the sort of centre forwards for me, who I think are going to haul in all the points. So have those 2 and try and spread the rest of that money in the midfield if I can. That's a tactic I'm thinking of at the minute. Yeah,
I think it's become a more popular tactic this season just because the midfielders are performing so well. So yeah, it's an interesting one. And interestingly, on the flip side of those transfers, at the moment, Jesse Lingard is the most transferred in player. 283,468 managers have transferred him in so far at 7:39 p.m. on a Monday. So he's a decent shout, isn't he? I think he scored something like 4 goals in his last 5 games.
So he's my normal sort of Achilles heel. Players like that pop up and I think they're overperforming, so I ignore them, and then they keep scoring week after week after week. So to me, that's somebody that, if we're going on New Year's resolutions, I should jump on that, especially as I've got a wild card, especially as he's cheap. If he does end up dropping off or not featuring as much, there's plenty of players around that price bracket that you can change, like Zaha, Townsend, other players at a similar mould, Richarlison maybe. But just going back, just quickly to that other point, Liverpool's next 2 games after Man City are Swansea and Huddersfield, both away. But are you going to want to not have a fit Salah or Firmino in those games?
Or Mane, there's so many options there. But Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, those fixtures sound beautiful, don't they? So, and I still think that the Man City fixture is a really good fixture in terms of goals. Maybe not for your defenders, but in terms of your strikers and your midfielders, I think it is. So, anyway, Quigliano, that's an interesting start to the podcast. We're going to be back after this short break with this week's Gary of the Week.
The Fantasy Football Edge Podcast. 90% drivel, 9% ego, and 1% tips.
Quigliano, I trust that you have done your homework this week and have a Gary of the Week for us.
I mean, yeah, done the homework. I mean, some people say like it's an excuse on my dog's ate it, and probably by the look of these tips, you might think my dog has ate it, digested it, and then presented it to me, because that's how sort of the standard of my tips this season. But I'm going to go.
Just pause there. You're not happy with your tips generally this season?
Well, I mean, I've actually backed one of my tips. I made the fatal mistake of believing what I actually spout on this podcast. And I put Andre Gray in. Troy Deeney was suspended. Get Gray in your team. Cheap's third striker. Going to get you some goals. He didn't play for 2 games. And the game that I took him out, he went and scored against Man City. So that's just, let's move on. Gary of the Week.
Gary of the Week. Where are we going?
I'm sticking my neck out. Okay, this might be a very unpopular shout. It's the new Sean Wright-Phillips in terms of his quality of first touch. I'm going to go for Sean Wright-Phillips in terms of his quality of first touch, and that's Lukaku.
Right, okay.
Lukaku,
that's an interesting shout.
At home to Stoke. I mean, I know they've just got rid of Hughes, so they'll probably turn up now. But I think that's, out of all the fixtures that are on this weekend, Man U against Stoke is the best potential for points. He did manage to get a goal in the week. I know it was against Derby, but I just think that's got it written on, and I think it's differential. But I also think it's the Gary of the Week.
It's a Quigliano, sometimes you pull these things out of the air, don't you, and they come off. We don't hark back to great old days, but it's happened before.
It has happened before. I've got previous.
You have. I'd still say it's a bold shout, based on the fact that, look, it could be a brilliant shout. It could be a fantastic shout. And on paper, absolutely, he should tear Stoke City apart. I just think it's a bad week to be playing them, given the fact that they have got rid of Mark Hughes. But look, whoever goes in and does whatever, they're going to struggle, to get those players.
Yeah, I mean,
it's the
did
defence.
you see the Stoke game against Coventry? I watched the highlights.
Dreadful.
And the defending was diabolical. And there isn't much else to choose from in that Stoke back line. So I still see that whoever inherits that team is going to have the same problems. I think this is Lukaku's return to form. I'm predicting it. It's not a long shot. It's a guarantee.
Okay, he does score in bursts, so it'll be interesting to find out what happens. And that's a Monday night football game this week, so some TV viewing for you as well. So Quigliano, where are you going with the Xabi?
So the long
this
shot.
This is going to be very long,
extremely long. So it's the Everton new boy. Is it Cenk Tosun?
Okay, that's an interesting one. Now, I don't know too much about this guy, so I hope you've got something to tell us.
Well, I could barely say his name. He's 7.5 million. I just think that's a potential bargain. They haven't really got an out-and-out centre forward, and I know they've paid good money for him. He has got a bit of background of some decent goals. So my long shot there is, if you want to get in early and get in that cheap third striker, which is going to be a huge differential, I think, this game week. I know it's not the ideal fixture away at Spurs, but it's a long shot, and I'm just getting in early with the tips to say if you've got the balls for it, go for it.
Interesting. I do like it. Like I said, it's that time of the season where it does shake things up a little bit, doesn't it? The transfer window. I mean, again, going back to Coutinho, he's in my draft team, which has just killed me. I took a gamble on him at the start of the season. He's done so well, and then he's ripped out of there. But it's an interesting one. And again, kind of going back to the draft, we don't talk about the draft very much, but a lot of people are playing it this season on the Fantasy Premier League website. it brings in a few fresh faces, and Tosun might be one of those that people might not even think to go and put in. So
I've just set the cat amongst the pigeons there, haven't I? Can hear the cogs in your head already going.
You can. I'm thinking, get that Sturridge out of my team.
Oh, that's interesting because I'm currently in second position. So
you get him
first dibs on that.
You will have first dibs because I'm first in the draft, which is killing me. Okay, right. So let's go with the side tips then, Quigliano. Honour is all yours today with no JP.
This could have been the Gary of the week in terms of Harry Kane. I know he let everyone down on the triple captain, but again, his FA Cup gets 2 goals. He's just consistently chipping away. At times, I want to spread the money that is tied up in Kane around elsewhere in my team, but I just think you're going to miss out on plenty of goals. He is a side tip this year for this game week against Everton as well. Looking defensively, which is probably a bad shout for this week, but it's more of just a tip. John Stones is back playing for Man City. I think his price is about 5.5. I think that's a decent shout because I think he will feature now again alongside Otamendi, who has gone really expensive. So I think if you want some Man City coverage, there's your cheapest option.
Can I throw another defender in?
Edison.
Or have you got another defender? Yeah, okay.
I haven't got another.
Luke Shaw at Man United. 4.9 million. He started the last 3 games. It's a little bit of a risk, I take that. But they've got Valencia out injured. And I think, again, that Stoke game, highly likely that Man United will keep a clean sheet in there. And there's no one else in there at that kind of price range as a defender for them. So I think Luke Shaw at 4.9 is a decent shout. In fact, probably should have just done that on Steal or No Deal. But anyway, it's there.
Yeah, I think that's a great shout. And one I hadn't thought, that's been overlooked by me. So, a stone has been left unturned, but we found Luke Shaw hiding underneath it.
Nice.
Right, so the next one, I've mentioned his name already. I know Burnley have got a good defensive setup, but I fancy Zaha to return to the points this week. So I'm putting him in as a side tip. I've mentioned this fixture, Man United. I think Pogba was looking really good against Everton the week I dropped him. I think it's time that he started showing his worth. And again, we've mentioned him, Lingard, most transferred in. Don't get caught out in my old trick of saying he's overperforming. Just get him in, and I think this is a chance for him to get some points. My final tip is an Arsenal player, because you don't really know who's going to turn up week in, week out for Arsenal. But I'm backing centre forward, Lacazette is finally going to find those goal scoring boots and have a good game against Bournemouth, who love to concede a goal. Side tips to.
Interesting, yeah, Quigliano. Right, thank you very much for that. I think that is a pretty decent set of side tips all round, and we'll be back for the final part of the podcast standard right after this. Okay, Quigliano, good set of side tips there. I was pretty impressed with that. I think you're back on form there. I think the Gary of the week might come back to haunt you though, but anyway, we will see. We are going to go to podcast extra time pretty soon, in which we're going to talk captain picks for this week. And I've also got a very interesting question that's coming through email from Stephen Carty as well, a long-time fan of the show. But before that, I wanted to go to Stat Attack. And I wonder whether you might know the answer. It's more of a question, and I do apologise. Very unprofessional of me there. I think that's the first time that's ever happened, a mobile notification during the pod. Anyway.
Yeah. Of course, it's rattled you, hasn't it? It's thrown you off your stride
anyway,
there.
It has a little bit. I don't think that's ever happened to me before. Very unprofessional. Anyway, who is the player in the Premier League that has made the most key passes from open play this season? And it is 52 key passes from open play.
It's Mesut Ozil.
Oh, wow. Have you gone to my source? Have you?
That's a bad shout.
It is Mesut Ozil.
Shout, isn't it?
No.
He's not played that many games.
It is Mesut Ozil. Right. You've got it right.
What do I win?
Well, I'm going to give you free access to the to fantasyfootballedge.co.uk membership for life.
Oh, wow.
Membership for life.
Fantastic. That's worth at least 5p.
I'm pretty impressed. I'm pretty impressed that you got that. To be honest, I thought you'd found my source and you'd actually got it up. Amazing, great answer. Yeah, Mesut
Alexa,
Ozil.
who has made the most passes?
Google Home is also available. Anyway,
Well, we're not sponsoring us yet, so both are available, but they need to get those sponsorship deals in quick.
Absolutely right, Quigliano. I think we've come to the end of the road in podcast standard. I think we're going to have to go extra
Blow the
time.
whistle, mate.
Let's
Full time.
Blow that whistle. Let's go podcast extra time. If you want to listen in, then you need to go to fantasyfootballedge.co.uk and get yourself a membership. It's going to cost you £10 for the year. And if not, we will see you next week, hopefully with JP.
It's time to go deep. It's time for the podcast extra.